Hello, everyone, and welcome back to episode 120 of the Salvaggio and Cratty Sports Podcast, 1/5 of the way to 200. Just a heads up disclaimer before we get into anything, because I will have to travel back home for Thanksgiving and don't want to do that on Thanksgiving morning with crazy traffic through the city and all that.
That'd be a pain in the ass.
Yeah, we will be taking next week off because I will be heading home, and actually for some, I feel like a lot of towns do like the night before Thanksgiving festivities. You go out to a local bar, see like some old friends and stuff. So doing that as well. So we are taking a Thanksgiving break off. So we will be back on the 30th after this show. Just wanted to give everybody a disclaimer right off the bat, so people know and are blindsided next week.
That's 2 years in a row now. We're both even. Seeing that last week. Last year was my Disney trip to see Star Wars and everything. I kind of dropped that on it last minute. So we are both 1 for 1 right now when it comes to taking a mini vacation right around Thanksgiving.
And then before then, we did the Thanksgiving draft that I did.
That's true. Yeah. And you didn't want to snake it. So I got all the good things. And everyone was like, wow, his team's so much better than Mike's. What happened in that draft?
I got Turkey, I'm pretty sure. So I win.
And I got I think we should have done it tonight then if we're really thinking about it. See if we can.
No, there's not enough parity, I think. With
true.
But
let's do the same thing again.
I don't think so. I don't remember exactly.
I think you got the meat, but then I got like every side that everyone agreed with.
I don't remember, actually.
I think. I can't remember. Someone will tell us in the comments, I'm sure.
Hopefully. That would be funny. Somebody just has the tweet
ready to go. Yep.
How are you doing?
I'm doing good. No complaints here. It's a little cold, a little rainy. Weather's kind of crappy, but other than that, no complaints here. Talking some Red Sox for the first time in a while. So maybe my mood will differ as we get towards the end of things, because I feel like the Red Sox are heading down another very similar offseason plan and strategy. We're getting some Xander Bogart stuff, which may or may not be great depending on how you look at it. And then the Bruins are still playing well, and the Patriots are back in action. So no complaints here.
Yeah, definitely. A little different order than we typically do with the Patriots not playing this week on the bye. So we're going to put them second on the show today. We're going to start with Bruins and finish with a little bit of baseball stuff. So to start with the Bruins, in the moments of the week, at least before we get to the brass tacks, my moment of the week is Derek Forbert's Instagram comment
on naughty boy
on McAvoy's dog food announcement, the rocket fuel with polka dog. For anybody who didn't see it, Charlie McAvoy and his dog Otto, the rocket dog, the French bulldog, famous amongst Bruins fans, have launched their own dog food. So that's pretty sick. If I had a dog, I'd get some. Maybe you can get some for Shadow.
Maybe. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yep, I think you should. Yeah, Derek Forbert, hilarious comment, says Darla, for anyone who doesn't know, that's his dog, likes the other rocket fuel that Otto usually gives her.
Very inappropriate.
But hilarious. I'm going to let people connect the dots if they don't get what that means right away, But very funny comment, guys just goofing around on Instagram. I thought that was hilarious and got a laugh out of a lot of people on Twitter, and rightfully so.
Yeah, a little crazy. I mean, when I saw it, I was like, are you really we're doing this? But okay, I guess. No shame, no regrets, whatever. Just Derek Forbort living his life. And I hear his dogs are got a pretty good presence on social media.
Oh, yeah.
Very well liked. So
he posted a video last week of her just ripping ass and waking herself up during a nap. And I mean,
I saw the high five one. That was the more wholesome of the videos, I guess. I guess I missed out on that one you mentioned. And then just like I said, briefly saw this comment in passing.
The hits just keep coming from Darla Forbert.
I guess so.
Especially with Derek injured. He's got more time to,
craft
up some content. But we take a little pause for Bruins here before we get into the brass tacks of things with a quick football moment of the week in yours.
Yeah, I just found this funny, and it goes with a report that I saw today. I don't know if you did as well, particularly pertaining to Josh McDaniels and just showing how much of a dumpster fire the Raiders are very quickly becoming this season. I didn't even know this happened. My dad we were doing yard work. I think Monday he brought it up to me. He's like, hey, did you see Derek Carr crying at the podium after the Raiders lost? I'm like, no. So I had to go watch the video. And I mean, I've seen some people come to his aid. He was talking about all the preparation and the work that the Raiders put in, and he was upset, and the word he used was pissed off for that not translating. Of course, if you watch the Raiders on Sunday, I'm sorry for that. But they lost the Jeff Saturday led Colts, of course. I said it watching that game. I'm like, this is an absolute fireable offense for Josh McDaniels and everybody involved, because you should not be losing to a guy that was sitting on his couch watching a football game the previous week. And now he's of course, the leader of the Colts.
Tweeting about you.
Exactly. Tweeting about you too. Yeah. That the Raiders, whatever it was, that they stink or that they're terrible. I can't remember exactly what the tweet was. But yeah, Derek Carr crying at the podium, like saying it pisses him off. Like, to me, it's just like, dude, like to me, it's a little bit of an act. Like, if you were pissed off, I feel like you'd be dropping F-bombs and swearing and getting mad, not like crying your eyes out. And then, like I said, today it came out for the people like myself that probably thinks Josh McDaniels should be fired, because again, you shouldn't be losing to Jeff Saturday when you have a week of preparation and you've been coaching in this league for this year. They're apparently not going to fire him because they can't financially. If they don't have the money to bring in another head coach if they were to fire Josh McDaniels. So not only is he the head coach for this season, apparently he's also going to be safe for next year. So who the hell knows what that Raiders team is going to look like. I have to assume they're going to just be in full tank mode at this point and try to get a high draft pick, because nothing is going right for that team. Kind of crazy to think you bring in Devontae Adams, as we talked about last week when we did the revised schedule predictions and the revised record predictions and stuff like that. Of course, we both had the Raiders making the playoffs, and just, how bad their season's been. Kind of crazy that this is where this is the point they're at this year, where, like I said, Derek Carr is crying at the podium and they can't get rid of their head coach because they don't have the money to do so, which is just wild to me. As an NFL franchise, you are broke when it comes to your head coaching decisions.
Yeah, definitely didn't expect to see tears at the podium last week, but I guess shit happens.
Yeah.
But that's gonna wrap it up for our moments of the week. On to Bruins before we get into the big football stuff as usual, even with the Patriots on a bye. The Bruins have put the shitstorm behind them and got back to their winning ways.
That's for sure. Yep.
Yeah, they started with Calgary at home, a 3-1 win. Linus Ullmark looking stellar as usual, as he's done this year. 31 saves, 32 shots. Clifton gets his first of the year, and old friend Dan Vladar, who's in net, fresh off a contract extension a few weeks ago. McAvoy scores in his debut because, of course, he does.
Yep. Everything that could go right has gone right.
Yeah. And David Pastrnak just dangles on an empty net goal, making even empty net goals look cool. So that's what I took away from that game. I mean, the thing that stunk for the Flames, they didn't have Huberdeau, so that definitely helped the Bruins. Yep. He's currently on their third line, because to just show that Daryl Sutter does not care how much money you make. Like, if he thinks he wants to bump you down the lineup, he will, because that's a hefty $10.5 million on the third line currently, as far as I know, last I checked. But yeah, good win over the Flames, but a little bit of a grain of salt, I guess, if you will, with the loss of Huberdeau, but a good win nonetheless. I'll take it. On to Buffalo next. Look, Buffalo's scrappy this year, but they're still Buffalo. They're still a very beatable team in my eyes. Keith Kincaid was the star of this game because he
excellent in this game. Yeah,
he was so good. We talked last week about a big thing for Kincaid here is not only keeping the team afloat when you are called upon, but if he were to suck, they might be like, oh, let's bring up Brendan Bussey or someone next time, or Kaiser, who's playing really well down in Providence, also the number one team in the league down there. Not a big deal. But yeah, I mean, Kincaid, pretty good start. He's a guy that's been around in the NHL a little bit, played pretty well, made some couple of real highlight reel saves as well. It's not like he was just quietly going about his business. He was a little explosive at times. Let up a shorthanded goal that wasn't really his fault, just a miscommunication on the power play by the Bruins on the zone entry. It was a really sluggish game. This game was legitimately hard to watch.
Yeah,
the first two periods, but
yeah, I was just gonna say it was a bit of a struggle watching it. I don't want to say I turned it off at one point, but I think I can't remember if I'm correctly. There may have been a Celtics game on as well, so I may have been tuning my attention more to that because this game was brutal. But just on the Kincaid thing, like you said, because we talked about him last week, that was kind of obviously the big thing in this one, like you said, because I feel like you really didn't know what to expect from him at all going into this game. Like you said, a guy that's been around, has had a pretty average NHL career, I guess you'd say, maybe above average because he hasn't been horrible. But like you said, kind of with the McAvoy thing, of course, he scores in his debut. Of course, Kincaid comes in and puts up a stellar performance because, knock on wood, right now, literally nothing can go wrong for this Bruins team, it seems like. And again, I don't want to jinx anything here, but the guy plays out of his mind. We were waiting to see when he'd get in, and we're like, all right, you keep seeing Ullmark, these starts pile up, and you're like, all right, maybe Kincaid isn't ever going to get in. Maybe they'll just ride with Swayman whenever he comes back. He gets in here and he plays excellent.
Yeah, he was awesome. Good win to get against the Sabres. I feel like it's just a thing about the Sabres arena. I feel like every time the Bruins play them on the road, it's like a slow game. It's so weird. I also noticed in that arena the lighting is always terrible too.
It was brutal.
It's really like kind of depressing.
Mhm.
Bergeron had 2 goals, including the second one, which was just like a hand-eye glass, if you will, by the Bruins. Like multiple players batting passes out of the sky to get the puck to Bergeron and him just burying it no problem. And at long last, he's been waiting for this for a while. Jakub Zboril gets his first of his career, and it came at a huge time in a close game. Nice sigh of relief for him. Nice moment as well.
I don't know why I thought he had one. Did he? He never had a playoff goal, did he? I don't know why. Maybe I'm confusing him with somebody. So. Okay, so I might have been.
He didn't play in the playoffs last year.
Oh, that's right too. Yeah, he was hurt. Yeah, but that was surprising to me when they said that the 4 years in the NHL not having one. I don't know why I thought I had to have been getting him confused with somebody else. Obviously.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, good win for the Bruins again. But this one against Vancouver was a little more explosive, a little more high energy. I think both teams responded. Both teams coming off of back-to-backs. Vancouver has a trend of blowing leads this year. I think.
I wish I got that graphic. Yeah, like I wish I got that. Yeah, it was all by double digit or not double digit. 2 goal leads. Yeah, that's not a recipe for success.
The game before,
obviously.
They were saying they played Toronto the night before. We're up 2-0 and lost 3-2. So it's pretty. Vancouver is just terrible. Like they really are. Old friend Jack Stanika actually just got placed on IR yesterday. So tough luck for him. Hate to see that. Linus Ullmark makes 29 saves and 31 shots. It's just a classic case of a team that's way better than the other. Tomas Nosek had the first fight of his career. Never thought of him as a fighter, but surprised that was the first one. For a guy that's been in the league for about 5 years now, 5 or 6 years. Yeah, he sticks up for Pasta. It wasn't like a dirty hit by Burrows, but like anytime you see your 40-goal scorer teammate get lit up at center ice, you got to respond.
Yeah, it's a response element there. Absolutely.
Definitely. And Nosek, was definitely pissed off. Greer was going at it with Luke Shen earlier in the game. And then I feel like 2 shifts later, fought Puck Holes and bloodied him pretty good. Bolson had to go for repairs to the locker room. I like to see that from AJ Greer because this is a guy that's in and out of the lineup with Craig Smith right now. So, you come back in the lineup, you fight, you're going to endear yourself to your teammates a little bit.
Absolutely.
There. Yep. Especially when you win the fight and, dominant fashion.
He kicked the crap out of that guy. That was an awesome fight by him.
Yeah, he's a maniac. He lives up to the billing of being this rah, I wanted to play for the Bruins my whole life type of guy and will do anything to stay in the lineup, which is awesome. And something we're getting really used to, a dominant performance by Hampus Lindholm because he is
worth every penny.
He's top 3 in the Norris in the league right now. That's how good.
I would not argue that in the slightest. He's held down the fort until McAvoy has come back, obviously now, and I don't think he's going to slow down anytime soon because that's just the type of player he clearly is. Yeah,
he has had multiple multi-point nights. I think they said he hasn't had a minus rating in a single game in his Bruins career yet. I might be wrong on that, given they lost the first round of the playoffs last year, so don't quote me on that, even though he missed a game or two. But I think it's got to be a low number, if not true. This game also had the worst penalty call ever. I don't know if you saw the phantom slash on McAvoy. That was called.
I can't remember if I did or not. I feel like this is a common trend we've had the last couple of games. There's been a lot of ghost penalties and a lot of kind of head scratching, but we've talked about that in the past. The NHL's kind of gone down that route of frustrating, what are you looking at type of things.
Yeah, there was just simply no contact with the stick to anyone's hands or any part of the body. It was like a gesture towards it. I don't know who had the puck at the time, but there was just no contact made. They're like, oh, there's a slash because we saw the hand motion.
Nope.
Really stupid. Luckily, it didn't turn into anything bad for the Bruins. I didn't know where to put this in the outline, but so I just put it in here.
Right there's fine. Yeah.
The latest new piece of news, I guess, on the Bruins is the latest on their player vetting process following the whole Mitchell Miller situation. There's a statement issued by Paul and Weiss's independent review of the Bruins player vetting process. As part of this commitment, the Boston Bruins have retained an experienced and respected team of professionals led by former U.S. Attorney General Loretta Lynch of the law firm Paul Weiss and Rifkind and Wharton Garrison to conduct an independent review of our player vetting process. This will help us ensure that our process going forward reflects our core values. The Bruins organization will fully cooperate with the independent review team and will publicly disclose the results of the review upon its completion. I'm glad they included that because I feel like this is easily one of those things you could do and like kind of hope people forget about it.
Yeah, not follow up with.
I do it to like save face.
Yeah.
But yeah, now they're holding themselves accountable, which I'd hope so given the
absolutely. Yeah.
Sounds like the standing of this law firm they have seems pretty legitimate and compact. So good on the Bruins to get some to put some initiative down and
save some face. Yeah.
Yeah. And, take some positive steps here after a very glaring mistake. Game previews next week of games we have after like a 3-4 day break. The Flyers tomorrow night, who just won last night. I believe that I forget who they played actually. They're 7-6-3, 17 points, 5th in the Metro. Travis Konechny is pacing them on the score sheet, 19 points in 16 games. Swayman will at least be the backup from the looks of things. And what's been a trend with injured players returning this year, Marchand did it, McAvoy did it. Swayman led the stretch today, and Marchand and McAvoy both did that before their eventual returns. So I have to think Swayman is backing up Omar tomorrow, given that. So
you would think, yeah. I did see a tweet that said Kincaid got sent back to Providence, so you got to assume that. So yeah,
writing on the wall as well.
Yep.
Like when McAvoy came back, they sent Riley down.
They're tipping their hand a little bit.
Similar thing, yeah.
Not great poker players, but
yeah, definitely not.
I'll take it. I'm glad he's back. Like I said, you maybe give him a couple of games here and there and get him back up to form.
Olmark too.
Absolutely, he's been great, but I am getting a tiny bit worried they might be overplaying him this early in the year.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, love how he's played, but mix in Swayman a couple of times just to keep Olmark healthy because you already had one goalie go down. You don't need to have two, not injury prone, but injury concerns as the season goes on. If you keep playing him a lot, maybe he wears down.
Yeah, I agree. I'm happy Swayman, is looking to be back this soon too, because it looked like it could have been much longer.
Yeah, it's like you told me. Yeah, it looks like it was going to be bad.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be an ACL or something, but Forbert will definitely not be back. Probably within the next week or two. It sounds like he's further out. McAvoy moving to power play 1 is the interesting development on my end from today. A lot of people have been, voicing their, although the Bruins have been playing so good, there have been some glaring weaknesses when they have the 5-1
problem. Yeah.
So I think McAvoy's the perfect guy to slot on the first power play to remedy that. So I like it. And it just balances the second unit out a little bit too, adding Krejci there. So yeah, there's really no complaint from me there. It's just going to add a little bit more stability because, things haven't been super cohesive lately, not like terrible, but I think, putting McAvoy in that top power play unit is going to be, do more good than it does bad. And I don't care about the record of the Flyers, that they're not terrible right now. This is just not a good team. They don't have a good roster. I don't know if you saw the clip of John Tortorella the other night. They asked him, they just asked him like a question when he's on the bench. He's like, "We suck. We can't do anything right now. We're not."
I did see a tweet. I was gonna watch that and I just completely forgot. I was like, I wonder what John Tortorella, if he's yelling at somebody or what's going on there, but I never got around to looking at it. I just assume with him, it's never anything positive because like you and I, he is, but like you and I said when they made that hiring, it was a pretty dumb decision in our opinions because it did not seem like a guy that was gonna sit well with that team and that kind of the vibe of the Flyers.
See, like there's a player sitting right next to him too. Can you imagine just like having to sit there and like not laugh on TV?
Yeah, just kind of cover your mouth and be like, all right, like let's take it easy here. Let's not say that we suck and right in front of everybody.
I mean, they just have a bad roster. Speaking of teams with bad rosters, the Chicago Blackhawks are also not as terrible as one might expect. 6-6-3, 15 points, 5th in the Central. Patrick Kane, 2 goals, 10 assists for 12 points in 15 games. Overachieving a little, but like it's another team. Like one of the worst rosters.
Does not scare me.
Should be an easy win.
Yep.
Speaking of all right. Backtrack here. I was gonna say something that would have been completely wrong. Good rosters, on the other hand. Tampa
Mhm.
Bay, they lost a little bit with, Palat and McDonough in the offseason, but still playing pretty good. 9-6-1, 17 points. Fourth in the Atlantic. Nikita Kucherov looking like himself. Has 23 points in 16 games. A little bit of a step back this year, as, some have predicted, but they're still the Tampa Bay Lightning. So you got to, act as such when you play them. With identical records, matches them up with the Florida Panthers. Again, I don't know why I can't speak, good sentences right now.
Yeah.
9. I also put the wrong amount of points. That's 19, not 17.
Okay. Yeah.
There we
Math's
go.
not a strong suit either tonight.
On the heater. 9-6-1, third in the Atlantic. I guess they have the tiebreaker. Matthew Chuck has 20 points in 14 games to lead them in scoring. Bigger step back than Tampa, giving, they're not tearing it up at President's Trophy pace like they were last year, but they're still good. Aaron Ekblad's back. And I threw another stat in here that I felt was worth mentioning because I just didn't know where to put in the outline. Nesson says its household viewership for Bruins games is up 34% over last year in terms of impressions or estimated viewers. Most interesting, detail in their data is impressions are up 44% over last year among women in the 25 to 54 demographic. So
it's interesting.
Yeah,
I wonder what would be the cause of that.
Stocks up, buy in on the Bruins right now. Because
definitely for me, that 100%. Usually, I feel like it's kind of not kind of the same because there's probably more passionate hockey fans out there than me, but like, I don't know, the start of the year for the Bruins, I feel like we kind of go through maybe like a lull period here where like they play okay here and there. They're not great. And then kind of halfway through the season, they start blowing doors off of people. They go on that little run that they usually go on towards the end of the year into the playoffs. This year, it seems like they've kind of flipped that script and they're obviously off to a tremendous start. So that's got to be what's obviously catching people's eyes this early on in the year.
Yeah, definitely. Kind of like spaced out for a second there. Sorry.
Okay.
But people are buying in. People are buying in. That's good stuff.
As they should be. They are quite the W word, the wagon, because like I said the other night, if you got Tomas Nosek scoring goals, like you're never going to lose again. It seems like I said, everything has gone for the most part, minus again the one little blip on the radar.
To mention that Nosek.
You said he scored. Yeah. No, you didn't. You said he got into a fight. You had it in the outline that he scored as well. That's what I mean. Like if he's scoring goals, every other team's just
sunk.
Yeah. It's like, thank God. You needed was it Marchand a couple years? Who the hell was it a couple years back that legitimately threw the monkey off their back? I think it was,
but I remember seeing that.
Mm-hmm. So that's what I mean. Like if he's out there scoring goals, every other team just shouldn't show up. Yeah. Call somebody else. Who else they got in the minors he can call up right now that doesn't usually score all that often? Bring him up and have that guy score it. Like it's
I don't know. Just bring up a rookie that hasn't scored an NHL goal yet.
There you go. Score. Well, it's just the vibe of the team right now. Like I said, everything that is continuing to go right, just it seems like everything they touch turns to gold. They got the first year Alex Cora effect where Jim Montgomery can do no wrong. Every move he makes has been phenomenal so far.
Mark up next to score.
Sure, I'll take that. Fleming gets a shutout in his first game back. Like he said that too, I'm pretty sure after I was going to say that during the McAvoy, when you said that he scored, of course, in his first goal, I think Montgomery said that he goes, well, we just need Forbort to have a hat trick when he comes back and Swayman to, I think, pitch a shutout or have like a 40 save shutout or something like that. So he knows too that everything's going right for this team, which is obviously great to see.
Yeah. They're, him and Omar and Kincaid were dabbing. They
got
Bergeron and Foligno are doing like lazy Susan spin moves to each other, like when they hug after the game after they win. Like they're just having fun. They're absolutely a fun team.
Rightfully, they should. They are. Yeah.
Nobody's having more fun besides maybe the Devils, who won 10 games in a row. But
yeah, that's kind of wild. That's the team you might have to look out for on the horizon.
It's a team that finally has defense.
Crazy what defense can do in the NHL for you. I can't speak now.
Goaltending's a little suspect with Blackwood hurt and some inexperience there, but Hamilton's playing very good. So is Siegenthaler and Marino, and that helps, for a team that's had bad defense for a while. So they're building something in New Jersey, but I'm not scared of them yet. Let's see what they can do in the playoffs first, or at least head to head against the Bruins because they haven't played yet. Any remaining Bruins thoughts before we shift into our Week 10 recap of the NFL?
The only other thing I was going to say quick, because you mentioned obviously the Clifton goal in the Calgary game, just the not resurgence. I'm trying to think of the word, just how far he's come, I guess, this season. I mean, he's turned into a pretty solid defenseman for them. He's obviously getting involved in the offense more. I think that's got to be a product of the Montgomery system. It just seems like he's enjoying playing in the system more so than off. I mean, the goal itself, being able to follow a shot and get the rebound and pot the thing was great to see. Just the growth of him this year, I think, being able to step in and fill in for some injured guys here and there. Because he was a guy I feel like we didn't really know what to expect from him going into the season. It may be a guy that when you were getting healthy, may have been a guy on the outside looking in just because of how inconsistent he had been in his career. But he's, I thought, played excellent. And, the opportunities he's given and is a guy that, is turning into, I feel like, a mainstay in the lineup night in and night out.
Yeah, 100%. Things are fantastic.
So far, so good. No complaints here. Like you said, minus, maybe start getting some more power play goals. But other than that, like, that's the definition of nitpicking at this point.
Dude, I feel like they haven't even, like, their penalty kill was so good even before Forber went out. I feel like they haven't even let up, like, a power play goal since Forber.
Not that I can remember.
Like, it's crazy. They're just, like, they're automatic right now. It's pretty wild. But on to the NFL, and we're going to start with our Week 10 recap because there's no Patriots game. Yep. Thursday Night Football. I did not really catch much of this game, but Panthers-Falcons. As you have noted here, Deontay Foreman goes like Derrick Henry mode on the Falcons. Those are his Texans.
Yep.
And 57 carries, 248 yards, and 4 touchdowns.
Cordell
Patterson came back, so you get a little bit of a crowded running back room right now. And Carolina's defense is awesome, but I can't really speak to much. So.
No, there wasn't a whole lot. I honestly just was watching the game, the end of it at work, just for the Foreman and the fantasy football aspect of it. Like you said, having him as the Derrick Henry or the Texans to the Derrick Henry, the comment you made was perfect because he hates playing hates the Falcons, doesn't hate playing them, just hates them in general with the 4 touchdowns in 2 games. And then I don't get what the Falcons are doing. I feel like we've talked about that before when we've done this rundown. They hate using Kyle Pitts. They hate using Drake London all of a sudden now. And now, like you said, you get Cordell Patterson back, who's, a very viable starting running back in the NFL, does a lot of good things, has played really well there for them. He's back and he's seemingly fully healthy, gets 5 carries in this game, and they go with a 4-man committee at running back. Like, I know Caleb Huntley's had some good moments. Tyler Algier has played really well in Cordell Patterson's absence. But the Falcons might be just one of the most confusing offenses and teams in general, because it doesn't seem like they have any sort of direction. And, maybe their direction is just to kind of tank away the rest of the year. Like, I feel like the Panthers are a team they shouldn't be losing to because the Falcons have had a decent season. But just a weird game. Like you said, Carolina's defense stepped up, 5 sacks. They first forced a turnover, and that was really the difference of the game.
Yeah, like, it's so weird how, like, the only guy that could figure out how to, like, find consistently over the past few years, I feel like, was Calvin Ridley. Then he got suspended and traded.
Yep.
Like, Julio Jones, they could never find in the red zone. Roddy White was, like, inconsistent towards the end of his career. Even if you want to go back a little bit, like, they just don't know how to, like, spread the ball around, no matter who their QB is now. Because now it's happening with Marcus as well. He was more limited of a passer than Matt Ryan was when he was in his best years in Atlanta. It's super. They're just like, they're the Falcons. That's just what they are. They are
just a cursed franchise. It seems like
it's so strange, but yeah, the Panthers take this one 25-15. Up next, we have the German game with the Bucks and the Seahawks. Tom Brady, I think, is now the first player to win in 4 different countries. So
I would say so. Yep. There, here, London, and Mexico City, right? Yep.
Mexico City.
Oh yeah, Mexico. Yep.
Rashad White.
Maybe. See the RB1 in Tampa Bay now? Like, I think there's a definite cause for concern with Leonard Fournette. Now he's got a hip injury. He's not a very good quarterback either. He's throwing interceptions, so maybe that puts him in the doghouse a little bit. But I mean, he's a weird player. Like, I feel like he kind of goes on these runs. It's, one year he's really good. One year he's not really bad, but not living up to expectations. This year he's kind of fallen into that. And Rashad White, I wouldn't say he's really rejuvenated that offense, but he's definitely given Brady something different to look for. He's obviously good in the ground, had an awesome stiff on Quandre Diggs that was really, really good to watch. He's kind of rejuvenated their run game, I guess, for lack of, a better term of it, because he was really good in this game. Yeah,
he was.
He just seems like he runs harder too. Sorry to cut you off, but the other point too, it seems like he's kind of just more put my head down and go. Like Fournette, again, I like the player. I don't want to crap all over him in this, but like, it seems like he's at times doing a little bit too much dancing or trying to find something maybe where nothing is. It seems like Rashad White's just the I'm going to put my head down and go right through somebody and, pick up as many yards as I can. With Fournette struggling, he's going to get a better chance. And he's been the better of the two running backs, at least over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, this honestly could have been in the plans all year with them drafting Rashad
True.
White. So,
Yep. Kind of ease him into things, get him going. Yep.
And Brady is almost fully back. I'm waiting a little bit, but like,
are you? I think I'm more leaning towards that he is than you are. Cause I mean, we talked about it last week when, that last minute drive, like he likes going on and likes converting on, seemed like it, again, lack of a better term, rejuvenated him. I thought you saw that in this game. You saw one of the more complete games from Brady. Didn't make it, obviously had one bad interception, but like it was a game where it seemed like he not dominated from the start, but looked a little bit like old Tom Brady, where it's like he just kind of went out there and played his game and was able to really do whatever he wanted.
Yeah. Be fun if he was back.
Brady's back to steal from Zoe. Brady's back.
Yeah. Just might be.
Mm-hmm.
Game of the year, potentially.
Absolutely.
Almost definitely.
Try summing this one up. Go ahead. Because I texted you, my dad had to go help the neighbor out. And when he came back, I kind of thought the neighbor would have football on Sunday. Didn't. He was like, oh, who won that Vikings and Bills game? How did that turn out? I'm like, I literally don't even know how to describe this to you because it was so ridiculous. There were so many chances where the game should have been over or could have been over. And just, it seemed to surprise you every twist and turn that happened. So it was ridiculous. Absolutely no doubt about it. Game of the year.
Yeah, and I'm just gonna put it out there too. Like that was the best catch I ever made.
Absolutely,
that was
surpasses OBJ's. Yup, 100%.
It's not even completely like the one-handed aspect of it. The way he twisting, falling, like kind of like hugged it into his body on the way down, so he didn't drop it on contact. Like it was crazy. Like it was circus type of stuff.
Yep.
This game was crazy at the end. Just surprises galore, drama, OT. The fact that Josh Allen even kept this close, definitely playing hurt, was pretty impressive. But they let the game slip away, and Josh Allen was pissed. He threw his helmet, and it was a chaotic game, especially towards the end.
This game for me, I mean, like I said, we did so anybody who missed it, go back and watch or listen to last week's episode because we did the revised schedule and everything. And, we kind of not got into it, but had a little bit of a discussion of, who do we pick when it comes to the AFC, the Bills or the Chiefs. I think you're right. I think Josh Allen is probably, we talked about it last week, is probably more hurt than the leading on. And games like this, it makes me hate it even more picking them. But I feel like this is a game where like the Chiefs don't make a mistake. Like the Bills are going to shoot themselves in the foot more so than not is my main point. And that's why I feel like, I can't trust them to win anything in big moments because they had plenty of them in this game. They were almost given the game with why can't I think of the receiver, the catch down the sideline. Who the hell is their second receiver? That
the Bills or
Gabe Davis.
Gabe Davis.
Sorry. Yeah, sorry. That never should have been ruled a catch. They get a gift there with that.
Yeah, that was interesting.
That was ridiculous. And then, Josh Allen, like I said, maybe it's because he's hurt. His decision-making has not been great the last couple of weeks. I think he has like 4 red zone interceptions. I thought I saw a tweet the other day say that.
Dude, he throws bad picks.
He throws horrible interceptions. That's what I mean. It's like anytime the Bills get close to anything, it feels like they're gonna, like I said, shoot themselves in the foot, piss it away, whatever. So that's why I know they're a great team. I know we've talked about it before that they're maybe the most complete team in the NFL, top to bottom. It's just the Bills aspect that like they get anywhere close to any, sort of crunch time, anything. It feels like they're going to crumble on themselves or, crumble from within more than anything else. So I can't trust the Bills, especially after this game. And this, great performance from a couple of guys, but there's just something about this team. They can't finish out close games.
Yeah. I mean, it is a little weird. They're it's 2 losses in a row now. You have to kind of reevaluate things with the Bills and see if they can bounce back from this or not. Because I don't know, this could spiral. I don't know. It's kind of hard to say.
Yeah,
we're not really used to it over the past few years because the Bills have been like on this upward ascension, and now they're kind of in this buffer zone of are they real or not? But I still think they are. But I don't see this crashing down and burning. But I still do see the Chiefs as the team to beat, and kind of started to reinforce that with my Super Bowl picks and stuff last week for the midseason predictions.
Yep.
Up next, 31-30 Lions over the Bears. The Bears almost pull off the late game victory, but Justin Fields, I mean,
he's legit.
continues to get better. He almost like if he had a little more time in this game, he probably would have beaten his all-time rushing record like the week right after. He's just they've allowed him to be Justin Fields, and the more and more they can balance this with him throwing the ball more and like better to better players. They've already started getting Claypool. He's gonna be a menace.
I was gonna say we talked about it before. I'm pretty sure you saw it with the last game with Allen and Diggs. You're seeing it now this year with Tua and Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. If Justin Fields gets a bona fide number one receiver, maybe that's Claypool. Maybe they go, in a different direction and find another guy in the draft or somewhere else, free agency or trade. If they get a legitimate number one for Justin Fields, look out, because he's showing you right now that he's, got all the tools to be a star quarterback in the NFL. And, his ascension's kind of been crazy because I feel like a lot of people were ready to write him off at the start of the year. And then it's almost like a switch just flipped. Again, like I said last week, maybe a primetime Monday night win against the Patriots in Gillette is what did it and kind of got things clicking. But he's been excellent, and the sky's the limit for him because of what you just said. His ability to throw the ball is getting better. He's definitely an elite runner. So he's a scary guy moving forward if you get him a couple of weapons around him. Maybe Cole Kmet steps up and is that guy because he's starting to break out too. But who knows? The Bears definitely got something with this kid. I think myself included, we're a little too early to write Justin Fields off.
Yeah, and I mean they didn't play a whole lot together, but they were teammates for a year at Ohio State. The top receivers in the draft is Jackson Smith and Jigba from Ohio State.
In that direction, yeah.
You go that direction and reunite a couple Buckeyes. I don't know how much, how familiar they were with each other because I just checked. Smith and Jigba in his first year only had 10 catches for 49 yards, as some freshman seasons go for players. But, I mean, he's blossomed into arguably the best receiver in this draft class now coming up. So, I mean, if they're inclined to pick him as high as they end up, I don't know, that could be the match made in heaven that Justin Fields needs to have a legit threat because Chase Claypool's pretty good, but he's just not a number one receiver.
No. Yeah.
I think Jackson Smith and Jigba can absolutely be a number one receiver. So that'll be something to monitor. Maybe it'll happen. I mean, it makes a lot of sense.
Yep.
Because they certainly need receivers, but
that's the direction I would go. Absolutely.
Speaking of receivers, I mean, Amon-Ra St. Brown, maybe this is the game he needs to get back into the swing of things because he hasn't
had some crap luck this year.
Amazing form he was before that injury.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe he's had the start of something for him to get back into that mojo.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's had, maybe I'm wrong, he's 2 separate concussions, or he's been out twice with
I don't know
head injury. I know one
had an ankle injury at one point.
Okay, so maybe it was an ankle and a concussion. I knew there was a concussion mixed in there somewhere, but he's had kind of crappy luck, like you said, got off to a hot start, but now he's showing glimpses of that again. So that's obviously huge for the Lions if they can get which Williams is it? I was going to say Jamal Williams, but that's their running back. The kid they took in the draft that they're waiting on. Jameson, thank you. Yeah, if they get him back sometime soon, because I know he's starting to ramp up, I'm pretty sure. Lions, their offense, we said it this season has not been the problem. It's been their defense. There's definitely some glimpses of hope on that offensive side of the ball.
You could reunite a couple of guys. Like, what if the Lions finish with the top 3 pick and draft Bryce Young and reunite him with Jameson Williams?
That would not be the worst thing. I think they definitely could use a quarterback up. I know Goff's been good, but is he the guy moving forward? I don't know. You get a young, talented quarterback, wouldn't be the worst thing to do there.
Their defense is also really bad, so they could get
it is
with Will Anderson or some of the other guys at the top.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean the Lions. They're a team that should be better than 3-6.
They're a strange team.
It's also not surprising that they're 3-6 at the same time. So the Lions are the Lions. Chiefs, Jaguars. I think the Chiefs should have blown the Jaguars out, but it was a close game.
Mm-hmm.
Christian Kirk was good. Patrick Mahomes just
he's the MVP in the league right now.
Him throwing for 303 or 4 touchdowns has just become nothing at this point.
Exactly.
I don't even.
You expect it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say he
is
cemented himself as the number 1 pick for MVP. Hurts had not a bad game, but his stock kind of fell this week. Josh Allen's stock is dropping very quickly with how bad he's played. Tua's is rising. I think it's probably going to come down to Mahomes and Tua in the end if I had to pick right now. But like you said, it seems like every week Mahomes is just, you look at the box score and it's 300 to 400 yards for 4 touchdowns. It's yep, you expect that. I'm with you. A little surprised that they didn't blow the Jaguars up. Jacksonville kept it close in the beginning. Some gutsy calls. I think starting the game off with an onside kick, if I'm remembering correctly. So, maybe you're trying to set the tone there, but maybe not the brightest thing to do. Who knows? But again, as I just said, the Chiefs are still the pick for me. They're still the most complete team. Their offense, yes, it was the Jaguars, but still, there's just too many weapons. You saw Kadarius Toney start to get going a little bit in his second game with them, cut a touchdown pass. Hardman's probably coming back soon, so their offense is just going to keep getting better.
Yeah, they're pretty juiced.
Yep.
Dolphins and Browns.
Speaking of Tua,
yeah, I mean he just keeps on putting up these weeks where he just dominates, but he's also just surgical in terms of his completion percentage. Like every week, it's like 26 for 31, 25 for 32, like 25 for 30. Like he does not make very many mistakes at all.
I was just gonna say that's where he might have Mahomes when it comes down to it. Is Mahomes has thrown some not bad picks, but he's turned the ball over a couple times these last couple of weeks. Tua, it seems like you said, maybe I'm mistaken, but it seems like every last couple of games he hasn't, again, no fumbles, no picks, 3+ TDs here and there. Like he's been pretty damn efficient as the season's gone on.
Yeah, he's thrown 3 picks all year, and his last pick he threw was the 29th of September against Cincinnati on Thursday night.
Jeez. So
yeah, and 2 of his picks came in one game against Baltimore. So
there you go. Yeah, he's basically playing turnover-free football right now, which is a huge reason why the Dolphins are where they're at.
Every game he's started and completed, they have won this year 7-0. Yeah, Tua's got a real case for MVP, and he just solidified it in this one, beating up on a Browns team that is just waiting for Deshaun Watson to come back. At this rate,
that's really
been solid enough. But I think they're although Deshaun Watson's a scumbag, there are Browns fans that are just clamoring to have him back.
Yep.
The team he will face in Week 12, the Houston Texans lost to the G-Men 24-16, moving to 1-7-1. G-Men 7-2. Can't believe that still. Daniel Jones just willed them to victory with not much, but Saquon was the story here. But Texans are just.
Does that say anything?
Be bad forever.
It seems like it. I mean, there's no hope for that team. There's again, we've talked about it before. Dameon Pierce, he had another good guy. I didn't put him in the outline because again, it was really nothing to write home about for the Texans. I think he had like 76 yards again, somewhere in that number. He's really the only thing that team has going for it, because like Davis Mills is decent here and there, but like they're getting nothing out of Brandon Cooks. I can't even name another player on their offense, to be honest. Does it say anything? Oh yeah, there you go. Does it say anything about the Giants though, that the Texans were able to keep this game so close? Because the Giants offense to me is it's literally just Saquon. Like,
yeah, my buddy Mike Romano from work was in the stream for a second here. He's a Giants fan, but they're not legit.
You don't think so?
They'll get to the playoffs.
Their defense is decent, but like
they'll get to the playoffs and get shit on. Like,
it's like you got to stop Saquon and make Daniel Jones beat you. I mean, he's had a good season, but if you put it all on him, he's gonna revert back into Daniel Jones. I don't think there's any question about that.
Yeah, I don't have faith in Daniel Jones in the playoffs.
I don't know how you can.
He just doesn't seem like right now. It doesn't seem like a bright lights type of guy to me.
No.
We'll see. Titans and Broncos. Titans win 17-10. They just keep winning. The Broncos again just bring teams down with them because they're so bad.
That's the first thought I had seeing this game. I'm like, that's Mike's typical, bring the Broncos, bring everyone down game, because I can't imagine being a Broncos fan and watching that team play. It must be brutal.
I couldn't. This was the Nick Westbrook-Akine game, which everybody expected. He was really good, so he just really carried them to victory. He scored almost all of their points. If he kicks field goals, he would have had all of them instead of Fat Randy. But Fat Randy chipped in 2 points.
Randy.
I'm sorry to Randy Bullock, but first time I heard him called Fat Randy, I just had to run with it. It's too
Gotta stick. Yep.
Randy's just a good name for a fat guy, especially because I'm a Trailer Park Boys fan, and Randy's the fat guy, one of the fat guys in that show. He just loves cheeseburgers. But yeah, that game was terrible. Another game that was terrible was Steelers and Saints. But I mean, the Saints are just shooting themselves in the foot. Just keep playing Andy Dalton. Like,
I don't get it. They named him the starting quarterback moving forward. I saw it today. Like at this point, I feel like they're just
healthy,
tanking.
I think they're just stuck.
Seems like it. I mean, maybe they're just finally saying, let's wave the white flag on the season and ride it with Dalton. Maybe Winston gets healthy and we play him at the end of the season. But right now, if you're the Saints, they should be playing for a top pick I don't even know if they have a draft pick this year.
They traded their
trades.
pick though.
I was just going to say, they probably
trade.
don't. So
Philly's going to have a top 5 pick at this rate.
That's right. Oh, yeah, that's right. Because that's the report of the trade deadline was that the Philly wanted, or the Saints wanted Philly to give them their first round draft pick back if they were going to trade Kamara. So that's, not a great place to be in if you're the Saints right now.
Yeah. The game sucked.
Yes, it did.
Colts 25, Raiders 20. The Raiders have assured us that McDaniels is, his job is safe, but like, what if you lose 2-3 more games? Like, are you gonna really keep McDaniels around? I think that's we can't just say we're gonna fire him type of comment.
True.
I don't know, man. Like,
well, I mean, it's been a weird thing because
different.
I don't know. It's unless they're gonna can Derek Carr at the end of the year. Maybe that's why I was crying at the podium, because he knows his time there is coming to an end, and maybe rightfully so, because he just is not proven to be the guy this year. But I don't know. Like, again, if they say they don't have any money to hire a new head coach, which again, like, that's just terrible team management at that point. They're kind of stuck with McDaniels right now. So maybe he figures some things out. I don't know how we really can, because you're gonna have to go on some sort of run here to even sniff the playoffs, which they won't do. But it's just like there's really no hope in New Orleans. The Raiders probably have less hope, in all honesty, because there really isn't anything to. I mean, they have Devontae Adams, but again, the fact that they're worse with Devontae Adams is kind of wild. Like,
doesn't really make sense.
No, it does not.
Jonathan Taylor had a great game in this one, so maybe that'll be a driving force to maybe Jeff Saturday pulling off a miracle this year.
Yep.
That would just be hilarious and fit the NFL season pretty well here, even though, we finally got a good 1:00 slate this week, but it's just been a weird season overall. Cardinals and Rams, the McCoy versus Wolford Bowl.
Yeah, get excited.
I love watching Colt McCoy play because he gets them a win like pretty much every year now. He's 3-1 as
That's true, yeah.
as their starter. Like, he's good for a win once a year, pretty much. You put him in, he'll get you a win.
I just find it funny to see Colt. Like, I forgot Colt McCoy was even still in football, to be honest. When I saw that,
Colt
I'm like,
McCoy
oh, wow, I didn't.
Feels like he's been playing football our whole life.
That's what I mean. It's like every time you look up, like you said, he's playing or making a spot start for somebody. It's like, oh, wow, Colt McCoy's still hanging.
Yeah, he got hurt.
Of course
Trace
he did.
McSorley came in.
Yeah,
Cooper Kupp also got hurt.
name.
Zach Ertz got hurt. This was the injury bowl.
Yep. The big injury bowl. I mean, those are two massive losses for both of those teams. Like,
the Rams just got to pack it in for no draft pick at this rate. Yep. They don't have any. But like, man, this game was just it was weird to watch.
I didn't catch any of it, to be honest. Like, as soon as I saw that both backup quarterbacks were playing, I'm like, nope, I have no interest in watching that game. Like,
it was puzzling to watch.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't feel right. It's like, who are these people on my TV? But yeah, Cardinals won in one of the weirder, quarterback matchups you'll see this year.
Yep.
The Packers and the Cowboys.
This game was entertaining, that's for sure. A lot of dumb decision making.
Christian Watson finally.
Yep.
Or do we think this is just a flash in the pan type of thing? I don't know.
I don't know, because they got guys coming back. Lazard's fully healthy, I saw today. They had another receiver coming back. Randall Cobb, I think, is activated off of, maybe not IR, because I don't know if he was on it, but he was cleared, I think, to come back and practice. So he's coming back. So maybe this is a one-time thing for Christian Watson, but who knows? He looked good in this game for the 4 catches he had, obviously the 3 touchdowns, and maybe, gives Aaron Rodgers some hope that he has some sort of offensive weapons on that team.
Yeah, him and CeeDee Lamb were kind of going back and forth, even though Lamb almost had double his targets. It was a pretty solid game. I thought this was going to be much lower scoring, and Packers pulled it off. This is a game they had to win, and, Aaron Rodgers like, "You're not done yet." Like, dude, come on.
Yes, you are. Shut up.
You can just not be a douche. Like,
the only reason they won this game is because your old head coach gave it to you. Like, Mike McCarthy should not have
douche after the game, dude. Like,
that too. Like, that's just engraved into his brain at this point. Anytime he's in front of a microphone or a camera, it's just how big of an a-hole can I be?
Or how much of a weird, like, spacey
crystals and
like,
drugs, space
witch lady person you can be.
Yeah, I guess. But I was going to ask you, because you said this when we did the revised predictions, and you said it about the Cowboys, because it's kind of they're in their DNA to start to fall apart at this point in the season. Is this the first game where you see that, or do you think this is just kind kind of let this one get away from me. Because again, there were some dumb decisions. Mike McCarthy never should have went for it on 4th and 3 in overtime. Like just kick the field goal, man, and hope your defense can make a stop. Maybe it couldn't because they were outscored 17-0 in the 4th quarter in overtime. So a big choke job there from Dallas. So is this the first sign of them crumbling, or you think this is just one that they move on from and no, nothing?
I don't know. Nothing. Like, I don't think this is anything crazy. I think this is one they can move past, but it would be very Cowboys for them to just find a way to let the season slip away. So
Absolutely.
we'll see what happens. Excuse me. Chargers and 49ers. 49ers win 22-16 on Sunday Night Football. Love the jersey matchup here. Two of my favorites in the NFL. Justin Herbert. Like,
wasn't great in this game.
I know he's missing receivers, but like it's kind of exposing some things about him. I'm not out on Justin Herbert yet, but I slowly, like very slowly each week get a little more out on Justin Herbert.
Okay. I think I take it a step further and say
extremely slowly.
Yeah, I could see that. I'm giving the benefit of the doubt, like you said, because of the lack of receivers and obviously I don't know how much the injury is still affecting him, if at all. But I think this says that this game exposed more just the Chargers as a whole. Their whole offense is Austin Eckler. Like, again, that's easy to say when he's the only guy out there on offense, but like even when Mike Williams was healthy, Keenan Allen at the start of the year, we saw last year what Eckler did for them. Like, you shut Austin Eckler down and you limit Justin Herbert, you're going to win against the Chargers because they just don't have enough talent on that side of the ball to beat another team.
No, they do not. And I mean, just shows what happens when Austin Eckler doesn't score like 3 touchdowns and have 150 total yards.
Yep, that's true. First time he didn't find the end zone since week 3. So that's the key right there. Keep him out of the end zone, you win the game.
Pretty nuts. And it wasn't even like Christian McCaffrey that, took over the game or anything. It was just, the 49ers did enough to win in this one in a low scoring affair.
Elijah Mitchell had a nice bounce back really quick. Sorry. Elijah Mitchell had a good bounce back game. Interesting that Kyle Shanahan's saying that they're going to split time, him and CMC. Kind of weird that you spend all that draft capital on McCaffrey and then you're going to go basically 50-50 with him. Like, when you got to
go 50-50 with one of the best running backs in the league, you have that opportunity. You got to take it.
I guess. Yeah. You give up, like I said, your entire future for a guy that we said it when the trade happened, a position that they didn't really need because that's kind of the 49ers MO. They find running backs and they're pretty good at doing that, but Elijah Mitchell's got to get playing time, I guess.
I suppose. The shocker of the week was the Commanders taking down the Eagles on Monday Night Football.
Yep.
Wouldn't have picked this game, I'll tell you that much. Brian Robinson continues to be the story of the season. Like, he's one of those psycho running backs that just loves to just get in the mix. He's not like this super jumpy, elusive back all the time. He will get in the mix.
Yep.
And
just put your head down and go.
He literally pulled like 5 defenders with him. He's a tank. I truly can't believe that you can get shot and do this.
Absolutely. That's
multiple
times.
Just
just the will of man or whatever, however you want to say it. Like, he's a different breed.
Football guy of the year.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, there's no other player to put in that category. And him and Gibson found a really nice mix. I think this is something that the Commanders can finally build on because, they have receivers now, and Heineke's been better than Wentz was, but like, it's kind of been a struggle to establish the run game because you didn't have Robinson last year and Gibson was good, but now Gibson kind of fell out of favor a little bit. Robinson got shot, which threw things into the
it threw it for a loop, because he was gonna be the guy moving forward. Yep,
they found something. Like, this is, if they can keep this balance going, they're going to be a team that can, keep games interesting on the run. So maybe this is the start of something really spectacular in the backfield for the Commanders. It looks that way, and they
definitely
the undefeated Eagles, which AJ Brown was kind of not that upset about because he's like, oh, now we don't have to worry about the whole undefeated storyline. You just kind of play football.
I guess, I don't have a problem with that comment because you got to think they said it on the broadcast too. I think as the season wore on, you knew that was going to be a storyline and a thing to keep an eye on. You would have had to assume that pressure would have started to, amount to a lot of the season going on. But like you said, Washington beat Philly at their own game. Philly going into the game, hold on to the ball. They have a good run game. Washington flipped the script on them. Like you said, Robinson and Gibson played well, 49 combined rushes, 152 yards and 2 touchdowns. The Eagles go for 20, 94 and a touchdown. Miles Sanders was held in check. Obviously not a superstar running back by any means, but he had put together a good season before that. And then the time of possession was just crazy. Washington holds the ball for over 40 minutes. The Eagles don't even hold it for 20. Taylor Heineke was good enough to win this game, did make a couple of mistakes here and there. I'm glad if there's any Commanders fans listening that they decided to stick with the right quarterback here and go with Heineke, because you saw it during the game, after the game with Terry McLaurin's interview, talking about, how they basically the team gets up for Heineke, and then they like playing for him and rallying around him. So I thought, if they went back to Carson Wentz, that would kind of be a step in the wrong direction. They stick with Heineke, according to Ron Rivera today, moving forward. So that's obviously a big thing there. And maybe the Commanders can continue to go on a little bit of a run here, because I think we've talked about it before. Heineke's the right decision moving forward. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, and a big thing for the Commanders in this game too is their O-line. Their O-line is just not been very good this year.
Yeah, really good in this game.
Really stepped up. The only thing that can make a post-win celebration better for Heineke next time is to add the headband into the mix, because he was drinking Busch Lights and had a box of peanut M&Ms in the plane. What a gross combo.
That's a weird combo. Yeah,
let him do him. They asked him on the Pat McAfee show today what he was going to do after the interview. He's like, "Oh, you go pack a couples in and just chill out," something like that. Like, okay, interesting.
Whatever works. Yeah.
What a guy! What an enigma from the XFL to hear. I mean, he's definitely better than Carson Wentz. So
absolutely. Real quick before we jump into the future. There you go. I don't know if you caught the game. I'm sure you caught the roughing the passer penalty that sealed the deal for Washington. Any thoughts on that? Because that's obviously been you didn't. That. Okay. I should have looked it up more and got you who the exact player was for Philly, but basically the end of the game, there was a roughing the passer penalty called when when Taylor Heineke took a knee or slid down, got hit after, he slid. So that obviously roughing the passer gave Washington a first down and pretty much sealed things. I saw some people get upset by it. Like, yes, it was a ticky tack kind of thing, but he wasn't hit all that hard or anything. He was just kind of basically tapped, but that's the rule. Like you can't be hitting the quarterback after he slides down and gives himself up. So like if there were any Eagles fans that were still up in arms about that, it's like, that's literally the rule. You cannot hit the quarterback once he gives himself up. That's on your defensive player for being an idiot in that sense, in that situation. Like you should know what you can and can't do there. Yeah.
Agreed. On to Patriots and Jets. There's not a whole lot to talk about in terms of like personnel that we didn't talk about last time they played the Jets, but
true.
I believe Elijah Vera Tucker's out this time around. I think he's still hurt. I might be mistaken though. They could have Corey Davis back. They didn't have him last time, but he was listed as a DNP with a knee injury. So maybe another time without Corey Davis. We know the drill and defense. Jordan Whitehead has been a nice addition. CJ Mosley. Sauce Gardner's arguably been the best corner in the league this year as a rookie, which is nuts. DJ Reed has fit in nicely. Quinton Williams is very good. And on offense, Tyler Conklin is a surprisingly big part of their offense, and Garrett Wilson catches the bulk of the passes. No Breece Hall, but Zach Wilson will get a chance of redemption in this one after a tough game against the Patriots a couple weeks ago, or 3 weeks ago now, I think.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. Obviously you have to expect that the Jets are going to try to knock out the stupid turnovers out of his head in this game, but it's been a roller coaster for the Jets since they played that game. Obviously they lose their 13th straight against the Patriots in week 8. Then they go out and shock the world and beat the Bills. So I don't know what to expect from this Jets team. I feel like just off of first glance, the Patriots, they're going to mess with Zach Wilson again. It doesn't matter what, Robert Saleh or, their offensive coordinator does or says to him. I think Zach Wilson is prone for some dumb mistakes again. Because that's what it's going to take for the Patriots obviously to win this game. He has the 3 horrible interceptions in the week 8 matchup. If he protects the ball, the Jets win. The 5 wins he has, 2 interceptions. Both of those came in week 4 against the Steelers, and they still won that game. And of course, the loss in New England, the 3 interceptions. As you said, health is going to be a big thing too. It seems like the Patriots are going to have David Andrews back. Obviously, we talked about it when we did the wrap up of the first Jets game, how bad the offensive line looked because he wasn't out there, the 6 sacks, the 49% of the plays that Mac Jones was pressured on. Devontae Adams and Nelson Aguilar may be back as well. Of course, Parker played just 1 snap in that first game. Aguilar, he played 19. I think he left with a hamstring injury in that game as well. But later on, of course. So those are the 2 big things for me. I don't know, did the win over Buffalo say anything about the Jets, or are you still kind of on board? It's like, it's the Jets. They're going to find ways to screw games up. They played a team that it seems like is kind of taking a page out of the Jets book in Buffalo and, not being able to close out games and make dumb mistakes here and there.
The Jets are always going to be the Jets until they like make the playoffs and win a playoff game. That's
Okay.
just how they are.
They got a good shot of making the playoffs this year, but
Well, all four of the teams do. We could
that's
see
true.
both beast divisions. We could see a heavy beast representation in the playoffs this year at this rate with the NFC
Very
and
true.
AFC beast. But they're still the Jets, man. Like that's really what it comes down to.
That's fair. I mean, I won't argue against you that.
I'm gonna beat a dead horse there. But
Okay.
you have noted here that Devontae Parker and Nelson Aguilar, their statuses will be interesting to monitor in this game.
Mhm.
And I agree. And
All right, fair
David
enough.
Andrews is going to be back. It looks like, so that's awesome.
That's the biggest thing. Like I said, like if you can limit the Jets on, their defensive pass rush, hopefully the Patriots come out of this bye week with some different looking offense. Cause obviously we talked about it going into the bye week that they need to do something different and, make it a little bit more enticing to watch because it's just so brutal. And especially that Colts game was probably the worst showing we saw. That, getting Andrews is going to help that. Getting Parker and Aguilar back, or maybe one of those two, that might help. The big thing, just looking at the injury report really quick to see Kyle Duggar still on there. You talked about Tyler Conklin being a pretty good force for the Jets this year. He played pretty well against the Patriots in that Week 8 matchup. I can't remember if Duggar was active for that game or not. He wasn't. Yeah, so that's probably why. So if he can't go again, maybe you see a little bit more of Conklin like he did in that first matchup. Uche being on the injury report too is not great, especially coming off the good game he had against the Colts. But they were all limited. Jake Bailey is an interesting one. Maybe we have some insight on why he's been so bad this year. He's dealing with a back injury. I don't know if the Patriots have activated any other punters to the roster to give maybe some sort of insight on if Bailey is going to play or not. But that'll be something interesting to watch too.
I don't know about that, but they brought 5 long snappers in for workouts this week. That's bizarre. Probably just Belichick loving his off the board players and wanting to give some guys a look.
I guess, yeah, that
was interesting to see.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, but
that's very strange. I don't know how to take that, but
it's really hard to process. But instead of trying to process it, let's get into predictions, shall we? Because I like mine. I had some fun with mine.
Absolutely.
I'm going a whomping for the Patriots. I'm going 31-10. And Zach Wilson throws 2 picks and fumbles in this.
All right, so 3 turnovers again. I'll take it.
Yep, I'm going another 3 turnover game for Zach.
I think it's going to be close. I have Patriots 23, Jets 17. I just again, it's still 2 teams I think
almost
that are
the same exact score.
Yeah, I had it the same exact score at one point. I'm like, I can't do that. Like again, didn't look at what the score was the last time, but I just happened to do it. Yeah, I don't know. Like I keep thinking that the Jets again are gonna knock the bad turnovers out of Zach Wilson. I can't imagine he has another bad game, as bad as a game as he did. We said it when it happened. He had probably the worst 300+ yard game you'll ever see. I want to say he's gonna maybe right the ship a little bit and figure something out. But then again, like we keep going back on, it is the Jets. They are prone to dumb decisions. I want to say the Patriots offense is gonna look better coming out of the bye, but how much faith do you have in that? You have obviously much more faith than I do, unless your touchdowns are coming off, maybe defensive plays. I think they keep it close. I think it's, again, still a filling out type of thing. It's 2 very similar teams that are going to want to win their games on the ground and with their defense. I think the Patriots showed, obviously, in that first matchup, they're the better team to do that. I think they do it again here and sweep the Jets in the season series.
Yeah, I don't see a scenario they lose this game at home.
All right, fair enough.
Don't see it. Shall we shift to Red Sox to wrap up the show?
Yeah, because a lot has happened with the Red Sox. Some guys, they have re-signed. Some guys have opted back in. Some guys have opted out. Of course, there's been a lot of Xander Bogaerts stuff. And because they are the Red Sox and they are the interest kings right around this time of year, they've been interested in a lot of players already. I'll get to that in a second. But I'll just quickly recap what they've done so far, get your thoughts on it. One, I think we can both say we're fine with is they were able to re-sign Rob Refsnyder. They signed him to a 1-year deal to avoid arbitration. Any thoughts on that move, or just, it's Refsnyder played well?
Yeah.
All right. Fair enough there. One I was not high on. Eric Hosmer did not opt out of his contract, meaning he's still here for 3 more years and $39 million. I think you could probably have the same mindset I do, unless you differ, but I would look to trade him this offseason, send him to a team that has some payroll flexibility, try to get that contract off your books, because you don't really need him. You have Tristan Casas, unless you want to DH Hosmer, but I would look to other options they'll get to a little later on. What are your thoughts on, Hosmer? Not surprised he's going to stick around for that price tag. No one was going to give him that money on the open market if he did opt out. So as of right now, he's still here. What are your thoughts on that, if any?
Yeah, I've been on the cautious and Hosmer mentorship train
Okay.
for a while, so I'm cool with Hosmer being around. The money isn't ideal, but I mean, it made no sense for him to opt out, so I'm not, terribly surprised that he's stuck around. I think he could be all right, but like not a guy that's gonna blow you away. And let Koch settle into his natural position, give Hosmer some first base work. Wow, whenever you need to, but let
Mhm.
Koch be the full time primary guy next year, and maybe he'll be a really good mentor for Cautious. So
Fair enough. If he can stay healthy, I mean, I wouldn't hate it, but like that's just such a big if at this point. He's such a streaky player. It's like I said, there's better options, especially out there for first base right now, that I would maybe look to again move on from him, see if you can get anything for him, or maybe attach a prospect and ship him somewhere, and then go on from there. One that I saw a lot of people were surprised with, which I don't understand because we talked about this before, and I said this exact thing that he was never gonna not opt in. But James Paxton, the Red Sox declined his 2-year, $26 million option, but as we talked about before, that allowed Paxton to exercise a 1-year, $4 million player option, which he did. So James Paxton, who the Red Sox paid $10 million last year to just rehab and not pitch for them at all, he is back on a 1-year deal. Again, I'm not thrilled by that because James Paxton is such a big question mark right now that you don't really know what you're going to get in him. He does obviously fill a rotation spot that is starting to become a little crowded now with all the pretty average, options they have in that rotation. But to me, not surprising that he opted back in. He was a guy, again, that was not going to get anywhere close to $4 million, I thought, on the market because he hadn't pitched in a year and a half, maybe 2 years, if the math is right. But were you surprised at all that they decided to decline it, or if he decided to opt in, or just your thoughts overall on Paxton's decision?
I don't know why he wouldn't opt in after just
That's
not
what I
playing
mean. It's
last
like
year.
everyone was like, when I saw the update, it was like shocker or surprising. It's like, oh wow, I didn't expect this. It's like, why? The guy didn't pitch at all. He was not going to get. He was lucky if he was going to get like a league minimum deal, at least in my opinion, because again, he hadn't pitched in 2 years.
Exactly.
So who knows? Maybe an interesting one or a surprising one. Tommy Pham, he had his. I didn't realize he was going to make $12 million, but his $12 million mutual option was declined. That triggered a buyout with the Red Sox for $1.5 million. He'll become a free agent. I did see a report that said the Red Sox would like to have him back. But again, there are better options out there than 30. I think he's going to be 6 or 7-year-old Tommy Pham. Did have a nice little stretch for the Red Sox, but if I'm them, like he's a last resort type of thing, which I hope they don't wait for. Again, like we would like the Red Sox to be proactive this offseason. So if Tommy Pham's still sitting there as we get later on in the year, maybe you get him as a bench bat or, a depth piece, but he should not be your number one option to patrol left field when the season starts or when the offseason, moves on.
Agreed.
All right. Michael Wacha, maybe surprising to some, was not extended a qualifying offer. He's a free agent and he's surprised there. Do you think they'll bring him back, or do you think he kind of walks off? I feel like his price tag is probably going to be pretty high with the season he had.
This is a guy that's probably primed for a little bit of regression too. Don't really need that.
True. Yeah, nice season, but I can't imagine he's going to put together a year like he did last year. Maybe he does, and he proves us wrong. Right now, if you're the Red Sox, would you give him or Eovaldi a long term? And by long term, I mean like 3, maybe 4-year contract if you had to pick one.
God, I never even considered long term for Wacha at all.
Okay.
I'd give it to Eovaldi.
All right. 100%. Speaking of Nathan Eovaldi and of course Xander Bogaerts, they were the two guys the Red Sox did give qualifying offers to. We've obviously gotten some more insight onto what both players did. Xander Bogaerts, to no surprise of anybody, he declined it. But this was from Boston Strong. A lot of these tweets are going to be because he is a good inside source for the Red Sox. Said per source, the Red Sox made a qualifying offer to Nathan Eovaldi, knowing that he would most likely accept it, but they believe they can get a multi-year deal done before the 10-day deadline. It turns out Nathan Eovaldi declined the qualifying offer, so he's a free agent now. This was also from Boston Strong the other day. It said just like Anthony Rizzo did, Nathan Eovaldi declined and will most likely work a multi-year deal with the Red Sox. The Red Sox already made an offer to him. So wouldn't hate that. I think we're both in agreement there. You just said that you would bring Eovaldi back on a long-term deal over, of course, Michael Wacha. I feel like that's kind of the decision the Red Sox were in the process of making. Give one of those two guys a long-term deal. Like Boston Strong said, Anthony Rizzo declined his. He re-upped with the Yankees, which was maybe surprising to some. I thought he might have walked away after he declined the player option. But any thoughts on Eovaldi declining? If you had to maybe throw out a prediction, what you're looking or what you think he should get money-wise off the top of your head, anything that you see there?
I think he's probably looking at a 3-4 year term. I would hope for 2 with the Red Sox, but I don't think that's going to happen. I don't know, probably like around 17, 18.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah. Right around 50 million. I think I had it somewhere in the outline. I can't remember exactly what. Might have been my offseason. Yeah. Right around 3 years, 50 million to come out to 16, close to 16 and a half million AAV. So I saw Spot Track, I think, has him at 17 million is what he's projected to get on the market. So right around there would probably be a good price tag for your vault. I think he's coming off a 17 million AAV on his 4 year. Would that be math wise?
68.
Yeah, 68 million. Thank you. So close, similar to that. Again, maybe a year or two less, maybe a 2-3 deal, a 3-year deal, like you said, would make a lot of sense because he's getting up there in age. There is the injury concerns, but he's a guy that I feel like has been pretty consistent when he has been able to be on the field for the Red Sox. So I would not hesitate in giving him some money. Interesting tweet from Chris Cotillo to give some sort of insight on what the Red Sox rotation might look like next year. I don't know if you differ from me here, but again, I think this is a mistake because you saw it didn't work this year or this previous year. But this said, quote, Red Sox told Garrett Whitlock he will almost certainly be a starter in 2023 per Brian O'Halloran. They also plan to have Tanner Houck build up as a starter, but there's still a chance he could pitch out of the bullpen. To me, that makes no sense because, like I said, with James Paxton coming back, they're waiting on Chris Sale, who we've discussed in the past. How reliable is he? We don't know. And your bullpen basically in shambles, especially if you take Whitlock and Houck both out of it, which to me would make no sense. It leaves you with literally no closer. We said it when it happened. His contract when he signed the extension, it had a lot of incentives based on starts made and innings pitched and stuff like that. So there was kind of the writing on the wall that he was going to be a starter. With the market and how it looks and guys like Carlos Rodon being out there, they've been linked to, I think it's Kodai Senga is how you pronounce his name. I'll get to him in a second. All these starters that you might want to go after, you're starting to muddy the waters a little bit in your rotation, adding Garrett Whitlock to it and even Tanner Houck. Now you've got 8-9 guys potentially you could be looking at for the rotation. I don't get it. I don't get why they still want to make Garrett Whitlock a starter. You saw what he can do in the bullpen, how good he was there. Same thing with Houck. I just don't think it's great for Houck to be bouncing back and forth anyway. But any thoughts there? Would you put Whitlock in the bullpen rotation? Where would you have these two guys starting the 2023 season?
I would have them both starting.
Both of them starting. Okay. So are you saying then just go out and spend a ton of money on bullpen arms and try to fix it that way? Or what are your thoughts there?
I think they got to figure things out with Whitlock and just, I think he's proven enough to be a starter. And I think you drafted Tanner Houck to be a starting pitcher, and playing in the bullpen is not really going to do a lot for him.
Okay, fair enough. I don't know. I mean, it's typical Red Sox.
Maybe a little bit of bullpen to get him comfortable,
and
then if he's playing good, you give him that bump. But I don't know, man. You drafted him with a valuable.
That's fair. Yep, I agree with you
starter. There. Just start him. Get him in a rhythm. So that's where I'm at. And Whitlock has proven he can hang in the starting rotation as well. So let's do that too.
All right, fair enough. So then we'll transition to some of the players of the Red Sox, or the many of the players the Red Sox have already been linked to. Ken Rosenthal had this tweet the other day saying that the Red Sox, he predicts them to be one of the top spenders this offseason. We'll start with one of the names that has come up in multiple reports, and that is, again, Japanese pitcher Kodai Senga. Again, I believe that's how you pronounce that. 29-year-old righty. This is from Ken Rosenthal. Reports the Red Sox are one of multiple teams interested in him. MLB Trade Rumors, who always comes out and gives their predictions on where free agents are going to go. They have Senga signing with the Red Sox on a 5-year, $75 million deal. He pitched in the NPB in Japan last year, 22 starts, 11-6 with a 1.94 ERA and 144 innings. Pretty solid, a career 2.59 ERA over 11 seasons, 87 wins. Has pitched both in the rotation and in the bullpen, has, 1 career save, 20 career holds, 4-seamer, a splitter, which is nicknamed the Ghost Fork, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I got to see the Ghost Fork.
Yeah, I wonder if it's the same thing as the gyro ball. I mean, reading the page on Senga, the splitter does exist. It's not like the gyro ball that was just basically a myth because we never saw Daisuke throw that pitch. But his splitter is, they say, elite. It's nasty. It absolutely deserves the Ghost Fork nickname. Also has a cutter, slider, occasional curveball, and 2-seamer. So you're looking at a starter that can throw 6 different pitches. Again, I know the report on this guy is pretty good. If anybody listens to me, I'm always more so go get the guys that what they are and know that, they've had some success in the major leagues. I don't think Senga's going to be terrible if he comes over here, but there's always just that uncertainty with me with, overseas guys. How will they pan out here and can they stay consistent? would definitely be a guy that, puts asses in the seats. I think that's something the Red Sox should probably go after this year. So I wouldn't hate it if they signed him, but there is that question mark, of course, of, how sustainable can he be, and can he put together a solid career over here? Some guys, have been able to do it. Obviously, Masahiro Tanaka comes to mind with the Yankees for, being as good as he was for so long. Of course, Daisuke had his ups and downs here, but any thoughts on this guy? This is a guy you would bring in and make one of your priorities this offseason?
Ghost Ford. Yeah.
Absolutely. You kind of tipped your hand there. Yeah. You want to see it. So yeah, that's
I'm kind of in a mindset, like I want Houck to be in the rotation. I want Whitlock to be in the rotation. And I want them to ideally sign Evaldi, but like you also have to think of Brian Bayo.
That's what, you're starting to rotation. People want Cutter Crawford. I saw
no, fuck Cutter Crawford.
Well, that's what I mean. I've seen some people say it's like, oh, you have Cutter Crawford as an option too. It's like, no, this is the type of guy that gets bounced from the rotation once you start making all these moves. Like he was okay one or two starts. That'd be like wanting Josh Winchkowski to be on the rotation too. It's like, no, these guys were filler guys this year when you had nothing else.
Yeah, like if Evaldi somehow doesn't come back, I want like a heavy righty rotation of just Senga, Bayo, Whitlock, and Houck, and then Paxton.
Like you get Sale too there, and Pivetta. People, a lot of people I think have forgotten about Pivetta.
Pivetta.
Yeah,
like, there's too many pitchers. Like
that's what I mean. You got to move some guys.
Like if you can get a guy like Senga, who sounds like the real deal.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, man, because like Bayo is another guy you have to consider too, because I don't imagine they have any other plans for Bayo besides being in the NL roster.
I would not send him back to AAA. He showed you at the end of the year that he figured some things out. I don't know why you would stifle that and send him back to the minors. So that's what I mean. They have a problem right now, but like you said, do they really? Because a lot of these guys or some of these guys are, fringe type guys. Again, the Crawfords, the Winchkowskis, Pivetta, with how the season might turn out, if they decide to spend some money on the rotation, which we both think they should. He could be a guy on the outside looking in, maybe a long innings type of guy out of the bullpen, or maybe they just trade him entirely. I would not be opposed as much as I like Nick Pivetta. I wouldn't be opposed to shopping him in some sort of trade.
I'm trying to sort things out. Like we might as well just segue into this guy I'm thinking they could trade one of the pitchers for. Do you hit up the Pirates with an offer of including Nick York and Tanner Houck for Brian Reynolds?
It would. I mean, I know you have to give to get. I would obviously start with Nick York because especially if you bring Bogarts back.
If you're getting a guy like Reynolds, you have to trade one of those shortstops because you're not going to have all of them if they all pan out. Mm-hmm. And I think Nick York makes the most sense.
Absolutely. He's the guy that has a logjam right now because you drafted another kid this past season that projects as a shortstop and second baseman.
Previous first.
Exactly. Well. And I mean, Mayer's the guy that's going to he's obviously the number one prospect in the organization. Anywhere. He's here to stay. You don't field any sort of trade requests on him unless it's a superstar caliber, which Brian Reynolds is a nice player. He's an all-star. He's been in some MVP voting here and there, but he is not Marcelo Mayer caliber. Like you said, Red Sox have been linked to him. He's a guy absolutely I would call. And like you said, Nick York is what I'm starting with. I might look to give, again, maybe it's not enough to get it done, but some guys that have some MLB experience, maybe you throw Cutter Crawford in there. Maybe you throw Winchkowski.
Jeter Downs.
Yeah, I was thinking Jeter Downs. You throw some sort of, I don't want to say mid-level prospects because it's probably not going to be enough to get it done, but maybe you throw a couple of those guys together instead of one giant piece and see if that's enough to get it done. The Pirates too, it's they're such a weird team to try to predict what they want to do because it seems like they're just hell-bent on getting all these mid-level prospects and kind of being a mid team as the seasons go on.
Dude, anytime they have good players, they trade them.
That's what I mean. They trade them for
they're always going to rebuild.
Yeah, the Garrett Cole, not the Garrett Cole, the Tyler Glasnow trade is the prime example. You gave up solid young players for not really anything. So maybe you can, pull a fast one on them again. I absolutely would go after Brian Reynolds, make a trade for him. One guy I would not trade for because I don't like the idea of trading for a catcher and giving up, decent prospects for one is Sean Murphy. Alex Spear had the Red Sox were expected to revisit a trade possibility for catcher Sean Murphy. Of course, the Red Sox were interested in him a couple of years back. Alex Spear had this. He said, when the Red Sox approached Oakland last year about a Murphy deal, Oakland's ask, quote, was a player like Brian Bayo as a starting point in a package. You're shaking your head. I'm right there with you. If that's the asking price to start, I'm hanging up the phone if I'm Chaim Bloom because I'm not giving up Brian Bayo for a catcher. Like
No.
Christian Vasquez is a free agent. I would much rather, if you want a right-handed hitting catcher, just go sign him or just run with Reese McGuire and Connor Wong. It might not be the flashiest thing, but it worked last year. I would not go out and get, I mean, Sean Murphy, again, is a great catcher. Don't get me wrong. He was a Gold Glove winner, had a career year and a couple of stats. I think home runs, RBIs, batting average, was really good this year for Oakland. Good arm, good defensive catcher, but you can find cheaper guys who can put up, those similar stats. Again, Christian Vasquez's mind comes to mind because he's a free agent and he's not going to cost you anything but money. So I would not go after Sean Murphy. I feel like you're in agreement there.
Yeah, I mean, just can't do that for a catcher. Just simply cannot.
All right, one other righty, because you said you wanted to go with a righty heavy rotation this year. A guy I wouldn't hate, Chris Bassett. His name came up. Boston Strong had that as well. The Red Sox are looking at Kodai Senga and Chris Bassett as potential reinforcements for the rotation. That came from Alex Spear as well. Bassett was good with the Mets last year, 30 games, 15-9 with a 3.42 ERA. He had career highs in games started, wins, innings pitched, and strikeouts. All-Star in 2021, Cy Young finishes in 2020, 2021 with Oakland. He finished 8th and 10th in those years. Solid option for the rotation, but again, like kind of middle of the pack guy. He kind of falls into, you have a lot of arms in that rotation, starting to push some guys out. Wouldn't hate it, but if you're going to go in for a rotation guy, I would go in for one of the bigger names like the Carlos Rodons, something like that. Maybe throw some money at Justin Verlander if you want. Bassett's not a bad piece, but I don't know if he'd be my top priority guy if I'm the Red Sox right now.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat.
Okay.
And I just can't help but look past. I cannot believe that Jose Abreu is 35. I feel like he's been in the league for like 6 years.
Yeah, I think he came over from Cuba, if I'm not mistaken. He was on the older side, I'm pretty sure, in his rookie year. But that is the last guy, or one of the last guys I've seen them linked to. There's a couple of the pitchers that one of them I would definitely stay away from, as I texted you the other day. But we'll start with Abreu, of course, because he is the bigger of the three names. Red Sox stats on Twitter, they had, quote, the Red Sox, Cubs, Astros, and Marlins are the teams, quote, high on the list of Jose Abreu. That was per 670, the score in Chicago. Abreu, like I said, he's my guy that if you move Eric Hosmer, which I think you should do, you absolutely should replace him with, because he's the real deal. Rookie of the year in 2014, AL MVP in 2020. He's had multiple other finishes in the MVP voting. 3-time Silver Slugger, 3-time All-Star, 300 hitter over his, a couple seasons in his career. Had a down year this year when it comes to power, 15 homers, 75 RBIs, but he's a guy that has been a Red Sox killer in his career. He's mashed at Fenway Park. He would absolutely fit that lineup great. You could put him as a DH. He wouldn't be a bad mentor, like you said, to Tristan Casas at first base. You platoon those two guys. I think he's a guy that you can slot in if you decide to let JD Martinez walk, which I think you should probably do. I would not hate Abreu in this lineup at all. No,
neither would I. And I honestly, until I saw this in the outline earlier today, did not know he had 300 this year. I didn't know he was, still capable of that.
Yeah, he's a sneaky better contact hitter and hitter for average than I think a lot, because I feel like a lot of people, maybe you included, like you just admitted to, think of when you hear Jose Abreu's name as a guy that hits 30 plus home runs. He's a big power guy, but he's got the average too. And I thought I saw Tyler Milliken on Twitter said this, that if the Red Sox signed him, it would be revisiting something obviously they couldn't do when they brought in Rizne Castillo a couple years back. So maybe you write that wrong and bring Abreu in now that you have that flexibility to do so. Because like I said, I definitely would bring him in. He's a very good hitter and would fit that lineup great.
Works for me.
All right, two other names too. One I'm a yes on, one I am a no on. Andrew Heaney, a left-handed pitcher, and Seth Lugo. This was from Chris Cotillo. He said the Red Sox are exploring the pitching market early, putting out fillers on both starters and relievers. Two starters they have been poking around on early. According to sources, a right-hander, Seth Lugo, and lefty Andrew Heaney. Maybe a little bit of misspeaking there, because both those guys were relievers. Heaney last year with the Dodgers was pretty good, 16 games. He did have 14 starts, so he was a spot starter, I think, at times, or an opener. 4-4 with a 3.10 ERA. But as I texted you the other night, the last time he was in the AL East with the Yankees a couple of years back, and he was really bad. 12 games, 5 starts, a 7.32 ERA, 2-2 record. I think he was left off their postseason roster because he had pitched so badly. The last time he had an ERA below 4 was back in 2015 with the Angels. So this is a guy I am 100% out on. Seth Lugo, on the other hand, I bring him in the bullpen. 62 games last year, a 3.60 ERA. He has not started a game since 2020, so he is a full-on reliever. He's a yes for me. He needs a no. I don't know if you feel any different or if you're kind of in the same boat I am.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. You're making a lot of good points. I have nothing
right.
to really disagree with.
All right, perfect. That's how I like it. Makes it easy. The last thing, of course, is the big fish, the Xander Bogaerts aspect of everything. To start off, Bogaerts, of course, won his 5th Silver Slugger Award about a week ago. Again, I think that's when the awards were announced because they don't really announce them all that well. He becomes, quote, the 4th Red Sox ever, joining David Ortiz, Wade Boggs, and Manny. And the 5th shortstop in MLB history, joining Barry Larkin, Cal Ripken, A-Rod, and Jeter to win 5 Silver Slugger Awards. That was from Alex Spear. Like I said, he was offered the $19.65 million qualifying offer, rejected it. MLB trade rumors prediction for Bogaerts was he gets 7 years and $189 million. That's $27 million AAV with either the Dodgers, Twins, or Mariners. So they're not very high on the Red Sox re-signing him. Jim Bowden had the prediction that the Red Sox will extend Rafael Devers this offseason to a 10-year, $300+ million deal, which I wouldn't hate. But also predicts that Xander Bogaerts will leave and sign with the Phillies. John Heyman had the Phillies are believed to have real interest in Xander Bogaerts. Phil's honcho, Dave Dombrowski, has strong link to Bogaerts from his Boston days. And then this was from John Heyman earlier today, I believe, or it might have been yesterday. He said that the Yankees, because of course they have, the Yankees have checked in on Xander Bogaerts and others, could be a backup plan if Aaron Judge leaves. And then this was from earlier today from the Boston Globe's Michael Silverman said the Red Sox confirmed that they've sweetened their offers on Xander Bogaerts and Rafael Devers. Whatever that means, because as we know, the Red Sox have lowballed Xander Bogaerts and Rafael Devers. I tweeted it out earlier saying that, the sweetener on Bogaerts' deal was they upped it from $90 million on the extension to $100 million. So there's a lot of reports obviously flying around with Bogaerts right now. I think a lot of people believe he is probably going to leave. A lot of the experts seem to think he is ticketed for Philly, which I would not be surprised by. Are you one of those people that thinks he is out the door and gone?
Yep.
Where's he going?
I don't have him in my perfect Red Sox offseason because I just don't think it's gonna happen.
When I saw that, I was gonna ask you. I'm like, it's probably what he thinks is he is out the door. Yeah. So you spend money otherwise. Which
I've been on the Philly camp for a few months now.
Yeah, it seems like the decision.
I've been on the letting him walk camp for at least a year or two. I just don't have any faith that they're gonna spend until they spend.
Okay.
In terms of these big deals. But I am putting Devers being extended for a mega extension as part of my perfect offseason. I have Evaldi resigning for 2 years. I think that'd be more ideal than 3 or 4, but I think he's going to get 3 or 4. I'm with you too. I want Rodon or Senga. Rodon's a lefty, right? I'm not mixing him up.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. Get rid of any shit you have in the bullpen. Just name
so the entire bullpen then?
Anybody else?
The entire
strip it down to the studs and just fill it with good players and young players.
I think we have to give credit where credit's due to Ryan Brazier. He continues to be the darling when it comes to just still having a job and I would love to be so bad at my job and still not have any sort of
crazy,
any sort of threat of being fired or let go. Because the Red Sox to open up some 40-man spots, released a couple of pitchers the other day. I think Jake Reed was one of them. I can't remember the other one. They made a trade for a guy or traded away a guy who I don't even think is a real player. And the guy with the weird name they got from Tampa Bay, the one that you told me about.
McGee.
Yeah, that guy who, again, I still don't think is with that name. That's an MLB The Show created player name. But all those guys go, and Ryan Brazier still has a spot in the 40-man, which makes no sense to me. So he'd fall right into that category of get rid of the shit pieces. But the Red Sox don't seem to want to for whatever reason. So I don't know what their plan is with Brazier. It just doesn't make any sense to me at this point that he's still here.
Yeah, it really doesn't. My other 2 points, outfield depth. I'd like to see another outfielder or 2 brought in for depth. Yep. I think this has Michael Conforto written all over it.
I wouldn't hate that. Yeah, that's a good move.
I think it's a really natural fit there. I'm expecting them. If I had one pick for one guy they're gonna get, I think it's gonna be Conforto purely off of vibes. And bring Christian Vasquez back, another vibes guy and a guy that we talked about the second they traded him, that they could just easily bring him back. I think it makes way too much sense not to.
All right, fair enough. I mean,
I hope Bogaerts is included in that mix, but I am not anticipating that happening.
I don't. Yeah, I'm not feeling great right now because again, there's just so many things out there. The Red Sox are doing so much talking with again the sweetening the deal, and Bogaerts is our number one option. He's plan A. It's all right, if he really was that, you're starting to see guys get re-signed. Rizzo declined his qualifying offer and then signed within 24 hours of doing that. Why have no steps been made to actually re-signing Bogaerts unless you just don't want to do it, which I think that's kind of the camp they're in. And then we talked about this before. Like as soon as Dave Dombrowski's name gets thrown out there, you're like, all right, it's a very real and scary possibility that he is going to 100% overpay for a guy. And it would not surprise me if he throws a boatload of money at Bogarts. I did see Philly, their number one, maybe Trey Turner. So if he goes there, then that obviously helps the Red Sox out a lot. But I mean, that leaves the Dodgers with a shortstop, as MLB trade rumors had predicted him going to the Dodgers. The Twins don't have Correa anymore, so they need a shortstop. That would make some sense there. I don't know if Bogarts would want to go to Minnesota. And then Seattle is obviously a huge up-and-coming team. They made a trade today to get Teoscar Hernandez from the Blue Jays, so that helps that team out. Why not go out and get another bat like Bogarts? So I'm with you. Like, it just doesn't seem like they want to make the move, which is stupid. He's been the face of your franchise the last couple of years without Mookie. You could maybe even argue he was the face of the franchise because he had been here longer than Mookie Betts had. And that was the thing too. You had the Mookie Betts trade obviously come a couple of years ago to prevent another move like this from happening, to, get money to re-sign your core guys and Bogarts and Devers. And if you let Bogarts, you do the same thing and let Bogarts walk all over again, like it's bad business. So he's number one on my list again for my perfect offseason moves to re-sign him. 6 years, 165 million, somewhere around that. That puts it at 27.5 million annually. Would make him the third highest paid shortstop in baseball, which I think is perfect for him. Re-signing Eovaldi, a 3-year deal is probably what it's going to be to get it done, somewhere around 50 million. To put that, like I said, at 16 and a half, $17 million AAV. Find a trade partner for Eric Hosmer, as I said. I think there's better options out there. Being my next point is Jose Abreu, as I mentioned. You bring him in, I think that shores up the middle of your lineup, and is a good JD Martinez replacement. Rodon or Senga, either one of them, preferably Rodon because he's the more known commodity. Just something to, and he would be a guy you put right at the top of your rotation too. He's the de facto ace in this rotation. Trade for Brian Reynolds. Again, the package should start with Nick York because he is very expendable, as you mentioned. You have a ton of middle infield depth. You shouldn't hesitate to get rid of him, and maybe Jeter Downs, like you said, because Jeter Downs might not have a spot on this roster. And then I have acquired multiple bullpen arms as well. If you're hell bent on getting Whitlock and Houck into the rotation, you got to build the bullpen back up. Andrew Chafin, Chris Martin, Seth Lugo are some names that I think they should target. All solid options. Chafin helps with that, left-handed arm that they need. And if you want a catcher, you need to bring a catcher back. Don't trade for Sean Murphy. Go out and re-sign Vasquez, like you said, because he's obviously, like you said, good vibes guy. You know what you have in him. And he, helps obviously solidify the rotation, helps out there. You could even run 3 catchers on this team. Connor Wong is a guy that he can play multiple positions, can play the infield. So maybe you have him as a third catcher, infield depth option. You run Vasquez, McGuire, and Wong as the season goes on. And I think you're pretty solid and set there.
Love it.
All right. I hope the Red Sox love it too. If there's anybody for the Red Sox listening, make these moves. I think you better your rotation. And then I'm with you too, to put an honorable mention. Start weeding out some of these guys that stink, that are not going to be here. Not to say that the Cutter Crawford, sucks because he had a solid end of the season, but he's not a long-term guy. Winchkowski isn't a long-term guy. They're all spot, starters, relievers, whatever. Get rid of Brazier. Caleb Ort had his moments, but is he a guy you projects to be in the bullpen? I don't think so with the options that are out there. So there's guys that can go. The one thing too, I hope the Red Sox don't do, which they probably will because that's their MO these last couple off seasons, is don't wait around, go out and get somebody very early, make a big move, re-sign Bogarts, do something to, get the fan base back on the side of the ownership, because it is not looking good, and it shouldn't, because of how they've treated things and how they've handled things and how things have, gone down these last couple of years.
Agreed.
Yep.
Not optimistic, but we'll see. Just gotta see what happens, man.
Yep.
But
Friday might be a day to watch. I saw the what the hell is it? The tender period or whatever it is, the qualifying offer period. If guys don't accept to become free agents, so you might see some more names hit the market. Do something on Friday. Go out. Maybe that's when they re-sign Bogarts or let them walk to somebody else. Would hate that, but you got to do something, and you got to do it early, and you got to do it now, because you need to reset this team and fix it, and make guys want to stay and sign here.
Cool. Works for me. I'll keep an eye out on Friday.
All right. I hope I'm right. If nothing happens on Friday, don't get mad at me.
All right. I will, but
all right.
It's okay.
I'm going to text me like, what the fuck? I was expecting baseball moves, and the only thing that happened was Tyler Anderson was signed by the Angels. Like,
shout out to Ty Anderson.
Yeah, there you go. Yep. He gets to play with Ohtani and Trout.
Yeah.
Very cool for him.
Very cool. Career update.
Mhm.
That's gonna wrap it up. For anybody who missed it at the beginning of the show, we will not be live next week. We'll not have an episode because of Thanksgiving stuff and travel for me. So you will see us on the 30th next live, and the show being on the next day, available wherever you get your podcasts. You can follow us on Twitter at Mike_Cratty, at Ryan_Salvaggio, and the show at Sal and Cratty Pod. You can follow us on TikTok if we ever decide to post again. We'll just kind of do that when we feel like it. So follow along if you wish. Yeah, you can find us wherever you get your podcast. I just said that, but I'll say it again. We'll see you
Just
next week.
a reminder.
2 weeks from now, idiot. But yeah, hopefully some good stuff will happen until then, because a little break. And we'll talk to you next time. Happy Thanksgiving in advance. And
Yep, absolutely.
peace out. See you.